Magandang hapon po sa ating mga tagapakinig. It's Saturday again, 3 to 4 p.m. Senior City Kwentuhan. Ito yung ating broadcast ngayong April 1. Wala tayo sa next Saturday ho kasi Holy Saturday, April 15 ang susunod. Anyway, we like to acknowledge as usual our three sponsors. Senior INET Philippines, particularly our Adult Learning and Education Program, Senior sa panahon ng COVID and Lapis Siso Channel. And of course, ang inyo pong mga co-host mula pa 4 years ago nung nagsimula ito, panahon ng pandemic, si Dela Torre at ang aking katabi rito.
Tita Girlie.
Okay. Ngayon, we are going to interview someone all the way from Cavite, Pinakayan, Kawit, Cavite. Ang ating guest po si Francisco Lara. Bago po natin siya introduce, gusto ko lang banggitin na ang dahilan kung bakit pinili natin yung topic, parang heavy naman sa Saturday afternoon. Land reform, food security, peace. Na hindi naman ganun kabigat. Pero part of it po dahil nga a few days ago, namatay si Ka Jimmy Tadeo, talagang kilalang leader ng kilusang magbubukid ng Pilipinas at talagang land reform advocate. At hindi kami nakapunta ni na Girlie, pero si na Pancho nakapunta ron, kaya nilagay natin nga yung picture dun sa at pangalawa ay matagal magkakilala rin si Pancho at si Ka Jimmy at saka all of us together. For one reason or the other, in fact, gusto ko bakit ba tayo masyadong na-involve sa rural development? We're interested in the whole development, pero may special place sa lugar natin, yung sa puso natin at utak ito, rural development. So yun ang mga ilang pag-uusapan po natin. So introduce natin ang ating special guest na sinabi sa akin, mali raw nilagay ko sa sa information. Sinabi ko bang professor sa UP, sabi niya kare-retire ko lang.
Meron yun, emeritus.
Emeritus, saka mas kilala ho namin siya recently, siya yung parang pinaka-country director ng International Alert. Ngayon, lang siya, senior consultant for Asia. Anyway, sige, pakibati sa ating mga tagapakinig, Pancho, and then we'll go straight to the topic.
Okay. Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. I hope naririnig nyo ako dahil ako po ay nakasakay sa sasakyan. Kasi galing lang po ako sa 100th birthday ng aking biyanan. Salamat Ed and Girlie sa pag-imbita sa akin. Napakahalaga talaga ng pag-uusapan natin kahit na Sabado. Gawin nating masigla. At tama kayo, marami ulit na bumalik sa isipan ko hinggil sa reformang agraryo sa pagkamatay ni Ka Jimmy Tadeo, at marami doon mga pinag-usapan kaugnay sa ano na ba nangyari sa reformang agraryo, ano ba yung mga magaganda naman tagumpay din, at ano pa yung mga nalalabing trabaho na dapat gawin. So magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat at salamat po sa pag-imbita sa akin dito.
Sige, tamang-tama. So, simulan natin sabi ko kay Pancho, gumawa lang ako ng ilang slides para hindi lang mukha naming tatlong nakikita niyo buong hapon. Even though nakafocus talaga sa kwentuhan, nilagay ko lang yung isang poster na ginawa namin para paalam kay Ka Jimmy. Pinost ni Pancho yung picture nila pauwi mula sa Parangal sa Plaridel. Kaya sinama ko na rin. Gusto kong banggitin kasi yung mga yang nandyan, puro kayo yan ang barkadahan ng mga mahilag sa rural development at peasant. No?
Bali ito yung mga kasama ko, yung mga nakatalaga noon sa kilusang magbubukid ng Pilipinas Secretariat. Sila yung mga nakatalaga rin doon sa Forum for Rural Concerns, Philippine Peasant Institute, yung Peace Foundation, ganon. Tapos nandun rin yung mga kinatawan, of course, ng Office of Continuing Education ng College of Social Work and Community Development. Kung maalala ninyo yung unang-unang pulong tsaka overnight lakbayan ng mga magkasaka sa Maynila, doon sila nagstay sa CSWCD, no? Kasama ko matatanda na, yung iba dyan, mga professor pa rin sa pamantasan, na sumama doon sa pagdalaw doon sa burol ni Ka Jimmy, doon sa Luksang Parangal. Magandang doon sa nangyari doon, nabalikan, lalo na doon sa mga nagpadala ng mga pagbati. Gusto ko sana namin tawagin, Ed. Kaya lang yung pamilya, sabi nila, pagod na raw sila, ganon. Gusto pa namin pahabain. Kaya ang plano, magkakaroon talaga tayo ng isa pang special na talaga Zoom na parangal para kay Ka Jimmy. Gaganapin namin. Tapos noon, magkakaroon rin ng face-to-face na pagkikita
Sige.
dito. Naiimbitahin natin yung pamilya. Nandun rin sina Rene na bata, yung mga
Oo nga,
dating
nakita ko, no?
Boy.
free farmers, nagpunta ron. So ilang henerasyon ng
Mm.
mga nagtrabaho sa kilusang magbubukid, sa kanayunan, ang nandun ng gabi yun.
Mm. Pero ang isang nabanggit mo na common element sa ating lahat, tumatanda na tayo.
Yes, yes.
Pero ang sabi nga ng isang librong binabasa namin ni Girlie, you should read it, ano ngayon,
Aging successfully.
aging, nakalimutan ko na,
Oh,
bata,
successful aging.
successful aging.
Oo.
Ang sabi niya, at least ang isang bentahe ng
Oo.
seniors, may sense of perspective.
Yes.
Ibig sabihin,
Yes.
and I think mahalaga yon at magalaga yung nabanggit mo una na pwede kasi sa iba ang perspective ay sense of frustration. Ang tagal-tagal na wala pa nangyayari. Ang iba naman,
Yes.
naman nangyari pero may kailangan pang mangyari. And hopefully, kahit briefly, kahit less than an hour pang natitira and lightly, masimulan natin. And then we look
The
forward na
discussion.
magkaroon tayo ng part 2 ng
Yes.
parangal kay Ka Jimmy at meeting natin lahat.
Yes.
Kasi malaking bagay yun, malaking bagay talaga.
Yes. Ako tingin ko, may historical sweep yung naganap nung gabi na yon. Kasi pati mga sakdalista, pinag-usapan namin. Yung, kasi pag tinignan niyo po si Ka Jimmy, di ba? Si Ka Jimmy, ang modelo nitong magkasakang ito, hindi yung modelo ng modernong magkasakang naging leader ng kilusan. Ang hinuhugutan niya ng lakas yung kanyang religiosity
Yung
yung spiritualism niya.
millenarian.
Oo, yung pagiging milenaryo, yung tradisyon ng millenarian peasant movements, no? Tapos pangalawa, yung pag-uusap doon kailangan malaman ng mga kabataan, hindi lang naman lahat ng naganap doon sa agrarian reform negatibo. May mga naipagwagi Ang maganda doon si Ed Garcia, dating commissioner, inisa-isa niya ano yung mga partikular na mga pagbabago. Kasi tinignan mo yung kasaysayan, di ba, na kilusang magbubukid, yung tenancy. That was central to the shift from tradition to modernity, yung pag-alis sa tenancy. Nung panahon bago niyang agricultural land reform program ni Marcos at itong CARP ni Cory, yun ay nananatili sa kanayunan. So napawi yun natanggal yun. At saka yung karapatan ng mga magkasaka na mag-ari talaga ng lupa. At marami sa mga magkasaka natin nakakuha ng CLOA. At hanggang ngayon, natatamasa nila yung pagbungkal doon sa lupa na yun kahit hindi nila binabayaran yung amortisasyon na sa lupa. So may mga ganong klase ng tagumpay.
Oo, gusto ko lang isingit nga na ako'y nabigla rin nung, hindi ba ang Brazil yata nag-host, nakalimutan ko lang, in the late 90s, gusto nila kasing ibalik sa global agenda yung agrarian reform, no?
Correct.
On the way there, may nagbanggit sa akin na kasi nga normally tayo, mga aktivista, we wanted greater transformation, marami sana nangyayari. Kung minsan, may tendency tayong yung ating frustration nagiging hindi naman self-flagellation for pagsisisi sa sarili. Mukhang hindi natin nagawa yung dapat mangyari. Pero sabi ng ibang foreign delegates, isipin ninyo, ang land area na supposedly covered ng agrarian reform sa Pilipinas compared sa other Asian countries except maybe China, laki-laki. Mas malaki yung area and then pangalawa, ang bulto dyan, nangyari lahat under an authoritarian regime. Well, sa Egypt, had to go with the check and balances and complication ng democracy. Kaya do not underestimate yung nagawa ninyo kahit may mga problema.
Yung skill yung skill ng mga magkasaka lalo na sa bargaining. Nahasa talaga yan, negotiations. Yung mga kwento magaganda doon, may mga umiyak doon sa burol ni Ka Jimmy na hindi namin kilala. Na sinabi nila, alam niyo bang hanggang sa naalala ko, nung si Ka Jimmy nagkasakit nung Nobyembre, nung October, tinulungan kami niya sa Bataan dahil meron kami isang lupa. Paano makikipag-negotiate sa may-ari at doon sa mga sundalo, hinggil doon sa lupa at nakuha nila. Ang daming mga nagganon testimony, no, na nagagawa ni Jimmy on his own. Yung sinabi ni Marvick na si Jimmy lang ang leader na nakita kong hindi umatras sa kahit sino mang opisyal ng gobyerno dahil sa paggagap niya sa yung paggagap niya sa datos, no? Di ba? Yung lakas ni Jimmy. At saka yung spirituality niya talaga, no? Malaking ba. So yung ability to bargain, in fact, hindi alam ewan ko naalala ko, noong 2008, ang World Development Report, ang tinutukan niya agriculture and development. Tapos sa World Development Report na yon, na hindi masyadong nakakuha ng atensyon, no? Doon unang pinirme ng World Bank yung small farmer agriculture bilang foundation talaga ng equitable development. Ang laking bagay noon, no, na hindi na pwedeng tungtungan ngayon yung mismong pag-recognize ng international global institutions, no, na yung mismong tinatawag nating converse relationship sa farm size and productivity, na lumalabas talaga na ipirma na nila na yung mas maliliit na sakahan ang mas productive kaysa sa mga plantasyon. Ganon. Kaya ang inadvocate pa ng World Bank to, inadvocate nila in 2008, a fresh push sa agriculture at ni-raise nila yung point. Bakit kasi hindi pinasok sa Sustainable Development Goals, hindi pinasok sa Millennium Development Goals, yung mga productivity targets, no? Puro na ano sa ganun. So, malaking bagay po yun. Kaya nga, tama yung sinabi mo, no? Isang magandang komperensya, pinag-uusapan rin namin doon. Pag-usapan, magkaroon, ibalik ulit ang mga tao. Kita Ed na talagang nawawala na eh. Wala na si Big Pabe, wala na si Oka Castillo, wala na si Ka Jimmy. Halos nalagas na yung buong kilusang magbubukid ng Pilipinas na liderato. Pero marami pa, sina Professor Jun Boras, no? Na sina Sergi Floro sa US, yung mga tao na masinsin na sinubaybayan yung agricultural development. Na pwedeng tawagin ulit eh sa isang pagpupulong hinggil dito sa usapin na ito.
Planuhin natin yan kasi alam mo, recently, may dalawa akong gustong banggitin. Ang isa, may tumawag sa aking journalist. Sabi niya, Ed, kailangan nating sagutin itong nilalabas na naman ng Foundation for Economic Freedom na pinopropose may concept na land reform to push for consolidation ng mga small. And syempre, iba pa yung foundation.
Walang yun eh. Alam mo yung Foundation for Economic Freedom, very neoliberal. Kilala ko yung mga ibang tao dyan, no? Na nandyan. Ang problema nila, just because they come from, an economic background, school of economics, doesn't mean that, people will, accept immediately yung kanilang pinopost with the evidence that is so weak. If it's been decided that there is an inverse relationship between farm size and productivity, how can you push for consolidation? How can you actually push for consolidation? They have found out nga, di ba? Una, inisip namin, we were wondering bakit nga kahit na implantasyon, nagko-contract growing eh.
Tama.
Maliliit, no? Kasi implantasyon, despite the transaction cost ng contract growing, mas profitable pa rin because of the productivity gains ng small farmer. Iba sa tubuhan lang, di ba? Yung between isang sakada, napuputulin niya yung tubo sa may waistline niya dahil hindi na siya magbe-bend sa takbat na trabaho, hindi na siya yuyuko. Sa isang pamilya na meron 5 hektarya na alam nila na yung asukal nando sa laylayan ng tubo na yuyuko para putulin, na mas marami silang mapuproduce na asukal kaysa yung plantation agriculture. That is already a fact in tutak. So hindi ko alam kung ano yung foundation ng basis ng consolidation. Ang even farm worker, even the people who are asking for that right now, are people who are actually not in agriculture. Yun ang diyan. They are most of them are in energy. Okay? The biggest worry right now is because energy, the push right now is di ba? Marami yung tinatawag na solar. Bis na solar on roofs, yung idea ni Obet Bersola, no? Ang solar dapat yan sa bubong. Ang idea nila ng solar, walang pinakaiba sa plantasyon, solar farms. Okay.
Correct.
The cost of ejecting people will be enormous. Secondly, sa wind. Sa wind, yung malalaking wind panels, na kapag ganon, it's very difficult also for people to live within their vicinity. So ang problem natin that the sort of yung energy transition is towards big ticket items. Doon nila kailangan ng lupa. Ang daming lumalapit sa akin, Ed, ng mga gusto magtayo ng solar. Anong interest nila? Dahil hindi sila makakuha ng solar farm, ang gagawin na lang nila yung Laguna Lake, papatungan
Oo,
nila,
overwater. Oo.
solar, no? At yung Lake Mainit, pati yung pinag-iisipan nila ngayon, pati yung Lake Lanao, papatungan nila ng solar. So ganun yun yung alam ko na demand na pinanggagalingan ng desire yung demand for consolidation of land. It's really for this type of projects, not for agriculture. Kasi for agriculture, the consolidation of land will not work in terms of productivity. Ganon.
Nandun pa rin yung sabihin mo nga old model of industrial agriculture is
Exactly.
efficient. Ay nako.
And that it would come from them, no? Who are
So,
supposedly tanong mo
mas
kanina, maganda eh.
modern.
Bakit pa tayo nasa rural development, di ba? Kasi when we came to, kahit anong panahon ng FFF, di ba? The modernization project was the rural area kasi talaga eh.
Correct.
So the entire post-war strategy of development, import substitution, and then because was tied up to a dynamic agricultural sector. Si Arthur Lewis, yung Nobel laureate on diminishing returns in production. Ganun talaga eh. That's the reason why we were all there eh. Kasi the test really. And then it came to some point and then ni roll back nung reforms, di ba, ni Marcos, nung liberalization that started in 81 na nabuhay ang AMGL tsaka KNP. At ang maganda dito, maagap naman dito ang mga cross-oriented groups. Alam niya eh. Kaya nga gumawa siya ng paraan para itatag yung mga organisasyon tulad ng KMP, SIPAR, Pakisama, ganon at iba't iba pa.
Siguro related to dyan, bago tayo mag-shift sa other topic, kasi bagamat ang binanggit mo na nga si John Boras, bagamat siya ang pinormalize yung konsepto ng bibingka strategy.
Bibingka.
Eh gusto ko rin tanungin kasi napapunta ka rin on both ends ng apoy sa ilalim at nandun ka rin sa apoy sa ibabaw kasi nakikasama ka sa DAR eh. Palagay mo, yung ba, alam ko he got it from another author, but sa Pilipinas, shall we say na maliban sa pagkilos ng mga tao and all that, na lalo na sa panahon post-EDSA at patungo kay Ramos, shall we say na yung may case ba to be made na yung strategy yon that may reformers mula sa taas, policy,
Yes.
and then at the same time strong reform movement sa baba. It can be confrontational, it can be critical, it can be collaborative, pero still iba ang quest at pag nagtagpo, lalo na sinabi mo nga pag natuto sa usapin ng negosasyon, effective negotiation, shall we say, isa yun sa masasabi nating dekada ng karanasan na pwedeng paghamuan ng push for
Yung,
reform. No?
sa totoo lang, una ko narinig yung bibingka, hindi kay Jun Boras, kung hindi kay Manny Kiambao. Okay, siya
Talaga?
Kay Steve.
Yan narinig rin niya ni Jun Boras kay Manny Kiambao. Silang dalawa lang ni Jenny yung nag-isip na gamitin siya as the title of a thesis about cooperation with the state. No? Dalawang lumalabas ngayon sa ebidensya. Yung kahit na yung bibingka strategy is only as effective as the ideas that flow through that coalition. So when they can collaborate. But if they can collaborate on market-oriented agreement reform, or they will collaborate on, let's say, killing the insurgency through LCAC, nothing will happen of it. Meron rin push from babae na on all those issues. So in itself, it represents a collective action dimension. So sa studies ng collective strategy, Elinor Ostrom, how do you get people to work together in marine ecosystems, etc. The bibingka strategy has fruition. Okay, meron siyang it reflects things that have been happening. And it's a very beautiful metaphor for what that kasi talagang imagine mo nga yung bibingka hit from above. Secondly, we mistake hit from above as anyone from above. Ang understanding natin yan, yung hit from above, kailangan ma-institutionalize di ba? Okay. Yun ang difficult. How do you institutionalize? Kasi we work on a 3-year roving bureaucracy. Every 3 years magbabago ang Congress, magbabago ang At yung Congress ay epektuhan niya ng burokrasya. The ability to mediate, bibingka style, is dependent on a tradition where you have a liberal, democratic system in play for at least, let's say, a decade. But it changes, let's say, every 6 years. And then even within those 6 years, nag-change ang policy ng state. Like ERAP, no? What happened? Like Gloria, no, what happened also no sa panahon niya, tsaka nung kay Duterte, no, the peace process and then finally total war, ganon, ang problema hindi na sustain. So yung bibingkat, is short-termish. That's it. I have yet to see a bibingka strategy operate successfully over the long term. So, for example, magandang bibingka strategy if we're going to fight for, let's say, one plantation, one issue, then let's try to see. Ginagawa natin yan, di ba? Kahit si Boy, yung proseso ni Boy, si Boy yung unang nag-isip na magtatanim ako ng checkpoint ng military sa bahay ng mga militanteng magkasaka para silang bantayan. Yung mga ganong klase ng cooperation, collective action. Pero kung malakihan, you're talking about changing policy institutionally at the level of the national, bibingka strategy works less effectively. And sometimes we delude ourselves that, being able to work with DAR, being there, is, for example, now I've heard recently, Edna, the new DAR secretary is really very progressive, I think. No? I remember meeting him kung si Estrella, with Boy, because he approached us, we were having lunch, tapos sabi niya, nagbaw yan at saka nagmano kay Boy. Sabi niya, sir, sabi niya gano'n. Kasi kilala siya ni Boy from the father. No, gano'n kasi sa bureaucracia. And I hear he's doing good work. He's really getting people like Jimmy Tadeo. Isa sa mga kinukwento nung magulang, kahit nila, mina, nakikipag-usap sila sa ganon. So is that bibingka strategy? Probably, di ba? Pero what have they actually generated in terms of performance? So ang tanong ko kay Jun Boras, ganun rin tulad ng tanong mo. We have to get together and view the performance of bibingka strategy, and then we can do it by looking at some case studies.
Not only that, although later magja-jump yan sa third topic natin. Kasi nga, hindi rin bagamat na-formulate yun mga Ramos time. Wala pang full implementation of the possibilities naman ng devolution. Kasi nga isang tinatanong ngayon, baka hindi kaya talaga yung compre lahat. But maybe either at the province level, city level, or in Barm's case, autonomous region level. As you said, pero ang problema yung sabi mo yung tagal at consistency, no?
Correct. So, I don't dismiss the bibingka strategy as I think it's an important strategy, but I would locate it with very definite contexts, very definite targets, rather than promote it as a solution to more overwhelming issues right now in agriculture, no? You really need not a bibingka, you really need to change the framework of government.
Yeah.
And that is seldom done through collective action of that sort. You have to put people there. You have to put people there who think differently. Talaga, at the bureaucracy. You have to really change the bureaucracy. And let's face it, yung short term na should have been done during ERAP was curbed. Of course, by the sudden ang dami-daming mga reforms na ginagawa na hindi na ituloy.
Isang ayos naisip ko na, hindi ba tinext ko sa'yo na dahil ako nasa PRRM ngayon and we had a program before with DAP yung tungkol sa taxation ng idle land, no?
Yes.
Reach out ako ngayon sa presidente, mukhang hindi naman papalitan. Sabi ko, mag-usap muli ang PRRM at DAP and maybe we can help convene itong discussion para ang impact ay hindi lamang sa atin, sa civil society, but also dumiretso sa taas, no?
Exactly. Tapos imbitahin si BBM. Kailangan
Yes.
Wala tayong tapos nung tanda mo, ako line ko lang dyan simple. The other day I was talking to Benher Abalos 2 nights ago about something in relation pa to Mindanao, etc. Pero one thing that we discussed doon sa gabi na yun was, if you look at the old government, di ba? The Marcos government of old was the prototype of the strong state. It was a developmental state. That's why it was subsidy. Developmental state. Subsidy. Which means that there would be an open mind, I think, to considering these things. No? Yung sinasabi mo. Kasi, mabuti sinabi mo yan, no? Sabi sa akin nung isang nandun sa Burol, Yung laro ginagawa ni Ka Jimmy. Si Omi, Royendo yan. Sabi niya, kumontak raw sa kanya si Ka Jimmy. Yung consolidation, boss, yung consolidation. Ano yung
Oo.
sabihin ng consolidation? Sinasabi niya, kala mo consolidation na ano? Hindi. Collateral value raw. Collateral value tinatrabaho. That is it eh. Yung sinasabi mo, Ed, yung mga lands na walang collateral value dahil hindi maibenta, hindi ma-marketable, di ba? Yun yung study. Yung mga lands na idle, etc. At saka yung mga land reform land, all of them, suffer from yung collateral value issue. Yung mga issues na yun, pwedeng i-raise sa level tingin ko niya, ni Australia. I haven't met Tagaya since I met him with Boy Morales when Boy was still alive, no?
Talaga.
Yes, so he bumped into us and then he
Congressman
introduced
siya noon.
himself. Yes, nung time na yon. Tapos noon he was very, sabi niya, boy, yung lolo ko, tatay ko, ganun, etc. lahat, ikaw yung ikaw yung idol nila. So I guess that was true because Boy was, the land reform bureaucracy then was implementing the agricultural land reform code, which started to knock down tenancy anyway. No? So,
Yeah. Tama ka. Sige, ayusin natin yan.
Yes.
usap tayo doon. I'm very interested kasi I'm getting out, I just retired. I am already just a consultant alert. We're looking right now into studies of climate change and violent conflict. That's what we're working on. We're being very quiet. We don't want to talk so much about connections yet until we're sure that the evidence supports it.
The other thing, kasi ang inihanda ko yung framework nga, ginawa ko ito nung kasi nung ako yung naging presidente ng 2021, palitan si Gani, sabi ko, sige, tingnan ko muna. Tapos just for curiosity, check nga, kung magsisimula tayo ng 1946, formal independence, kako, as the post-war government, the first Philippine, wala pang 80 years. In other words, si BBM in his term, darating pa lang 80 years from 1946. At kaya naman nilagay ko, and if you look at his father from 65 to 20 of the first 40 years siya. Kaya it's not age. Pero ang maganda yung binanggit mo nga na he belongs to that category nung 70s ng the so-called developmental state na gustong versus all this neoliberal discussion. Except, sabi nga ni James Putchell noon, except they're all authoritarian. Kaya sabi niya, can there be such a thing as a democratic developmental state?
Correct. But that's the situation they're faced in now. Kasi for example, Foundation for Economic Freedom, I'd like to ask them, are they even reading the news about what's happening? The Brits are turning more protectionist than the protectionist. No?
Yeah.
They're protecting now their industries. They're trying to recover their prized possessions. So they want to take over Jaguar cars. Simple as that. No, Mini Cooper is now owned by China. They're investing now on energy. They're going back to, and they're very protective. The same is happening with the US. So there's a return to protectionist strategies as part of the developmental process. Meanwhile, we have a bunch here of policymakers and experts who are more popish than the Pope when it comes to neoliberal economic theory. People like Amartya Sen, Joe Stiglitz, etc., even Krugman are now recognizing the role of, and they're not operating anymore. These new developers are not driven from centrally controlled economies. No, even China, yes, but China is not everything. You look at what's happening in the developed yung lugar ninyo dati, Ed, sa Europe, lahat ng mga countries doon are turning inwards. Ang dark side rin yun. Ang dark side lang nun, anti-immigrant, yung populism, yung ganun, etc. Nikki, our team, they went to Chemnitz in Germany and Dresden. Dating eastern part of Germany yan. They were treated and abused racially. And this was just last November. Talagang binabastos sila sa mga bus. They were a South delegation. May Asians, merong blacks, etc. Binabato sila. I remember yung Chemnitz na yan, tsaka yung yan yung seat of the Industrial Revolution. Nandyan yung Industrial Revolution Museum
Correct.
Sa Chemnitz na yan so ganun yung nangyayari lang. Merong dark side. Pero still, there's been a shift.
Pero sa atin, Pancho, yun nga ang the irony of it na you have people in government parang talking more about mahalaga ang private sector at i-lessen natin yung government. Hindi ayusin yung trabaho. Ano ba ang papel ng gobyerno?
Oo, hindi pwede. Hindi ba established na yan eh. You cannot do away with the state. The state plays a role eh. Kasi markets do not always succeed.
Correct.
Ang daming market. Ito lang sana eh, market failure. Ngayon lang kita mo sa energy. O sige, di ba malakas tayo sa sa hydro, marami tayo sa geo. So why are people not investing? Why is there a market failure? Kasi ang feeling ng mga dapat na mag-invest is they will not get the money because hindi nila masosolo yung profits eh. So yung notion na they can yung 2 points about trying to find rivals and being able to control the use of electricity is important for them. Eh may mga rules na nagbago na.
Correct.
Na in-employ na ng Energy Regulatory Board. Antik hindi pala na rules. Halimbawa sa coal-fired plant may ER94 kailangan nilang bigyan ng pera yung mga community sa paligid ng coal-fired plants na ngayon.
Talaga? Wow.
Oo, may pera ngayon na bago. Kasi required per kilowatt hour na magbigay ng pera ang coal-fired plant doon sa komunidad sa paligid nila. Yung tinatamaan. At millions yan Tapos parang yung katulad sa minahan, di ba? Yung payments para sa IPRA, sa mga tribo, ito sa mga tinamaan. Usually nangyayari, kinokontrol ng barangay, ng kung saan pupunta. Pero when actually dapat yung mga tao, those are the sort of reforms that make it difficult, sabihin ng difficult ng business, difficult to operate kasi they want to do away with those. But that is the role of the state. The state is there to mediate the costs of doing business and the safety of the community.
Correct. Pero sa rough scan mo lang ng the intellectual scene, hindi yung the power scene lang. Alam mo naman, sino ang voices na
alam mo yung mga kaibigan pa rin natin, Ed. For example, si Noel de Dios is still critical.
That's good.
Manny Esguerra, the two of them. Noel de Dios and Manny Esguerra. Si Manny Esguerra is nearly retired. I think Noel is retired. Ako nga, nag-retire na ako last week. I turned 65. So wala na ako mas matanda sa akin yun. Yung dalawang yun. So they're very important for this kind of a discussion kasi they will be the model, but they're the ones who also recognize the role of the state sa kanilang and then you have also people working on governance, di ba? Kailangan mo ng mga tao sa NCPAT to go attend a school of government kasi the reason why they're important is because they hold control over the cases
Correct.
Yung case approach ng AIM is very important Ginaya sa Harvard Business School, di ba? Yung case approach. Ginagawa rin niya sa NCPAG. So you need those people to be able to, off the top of that, they will say this happened in this case, this happened. So for best practice, you need to get people who have had experience trying to get people to do research on particular cases. They're very important. And then of course, educators, very important. A third force kasi at the end of the day they will be the ones who will determine how ideas are spread, So that's also very important in that process. So ngayon ang karamihan ng emphasis nasa public goods. So ibig sabihin doctors, nurses, doctors, teachers, etc. at lahat. Pero ngayon tingin ko kailangan tumutok nga sa sinasabi mo developmental strategies in agriculture, agrarian reform, industrial strategy. We don't have an industrial strategy still. Si Tonet, ang doctorate ni Tonet is on industrial strategy.
Nga pala, Thailand, Philippines. Baka yan ang isang field na...
Nakipag-meeting kami, boss. Sinama ko ni Fidel Nimenso. Nakipag-meeting kami kay Sunny Angara because Sunny Angara wants an industrial strategy.
Oh, really?
Yes, he's interested and he's going to push for it. So I attended there, as a participant in a group that sat with him, including people from engineering. Tonet Tanchuling was there because she's now the dean, college. So she was there talking about it. And then there was someone there, isa pang dean, and she's the one who works on energy. So sila naman, sinashare nila yung developments. And right off the bat, and the young Angara was interested, how can we turn it into a bill? and I want practical solutions. Ganun kagad siya. And then I will push for it. So you see, meron mismo nagtutulak.
Oo.
By another thing is, ang Angara is from LSE.
Oo.
Ang educational background nitong si Sunny Angara, London School of Economics. And I think not the master's
LSE
level.
pala yan?
Undergrad niyan, London School of Economics. So meron siyang ganung klase ng background, no? So may mga tao ngayon na interesado diyan, na some people who will understand the need for a strong state, but at the same time will look at it in a very practical and
Hindi na
strategic
yung
manner.
parang old either or dichotomy ng market state.
He will not instrumentalize the debate for
Yeah.
their own political purposes. Yung mga ganun ba?
Yeah. Alam mo na, gusto lang matanong kasi ang isang nag-trigger sa akin naman na either gumawa nitong slide na ito, in 2021 rin, it's not the biggest and most important UN agency, yung DESA, Division Economic and Social Affairs, no? Naglabas sila ng study, the pinaka annual social report. Ang title is interesting, Reconsidering Rural Development to Achieve Sustainable Development Goals. At ang simple sweeping that rural development should not be seen as the residual of urban industrial development. No? I think magandang i-post lalo sa panahon nga na si BBM naghahanap rin ng kumakapa pa siya. Ano ba talaga ang kanyang
Saka maganda yung inupuan niya, agriculture. Totoo yan kasi there are two yun. Galing yan kay yung kaya ko alam yan dahil 'di ba I studied formal economists, shadow economists.
Yeah.
He edited this book that won the National Award, for yung Out of the Shadows. And some people look at these economies as transitional. Ganun din ang tingin sa rural development, transitional that they are remnants. Rural development is a residue of the transformation from feudalism or semi-feudal to capitalism.
And then maging urban yan, industrial.
Yeah, and then they discover that even in the advanced, developed countries, you still have shadow economies. Diba? And then they discover that in the advanced development countries, food aid is important, rural development is important, their farmers are important, their farmers stop all things happening if they get angry. So they still constitute a major political force. No, lalo na when farming translates its issue into food security.
Okay.
Diba? Impact yan. Okay. So it is not transitional at all. They are not residuals. They are not remnants.
Okay.
Rural development will be a continuing strategic important field of development forever and ever until you have sinabi ni Polanyi, di ba? What is social and economic development but the relationship of people and nature and the relationship with their fellows? Those two things are central to rural development. Kaya ngayon, isa pang revival, there are now, di ba, I told you, there are now Polanyi clubs, Carl Polanyi clubs all over, in Harvard. No, they're returning to the theories of Carl Polanyi, of which an important factor was, it spoke about capital, but the important factor was the role of rural development. Ano yan yung tawag dito? Yung si Arthur Lewis thesis na naman yan na the dark and consolidated and backward economies of rural areas in contrast to the modern economies of the capitalist centers, no?
Ano kaya, Pancho, just lampas ito sa ating discussion ngayon, pero I'm just thinking, kasi nga, dahil nga, I remember, isa ka sa nagsalita nung ako in-install na eminent fellow ng DA.
Yes.
Sabi sa akin, ang papel ng eminent fellow, pwedeng mag-initiate ng program. Lamang ako rin ang dapat mag-mobilize ng resources. Pero sa akin, secondary yung financial of the point is, as a convener of ideas and crystallize, para may poll tayo. Again, iba pa yung how to advocate, how to influence. Pero ang mahalaga is, first to gather yung mga katulad mo at mga kilala mo na gustong pag-usapan, unang-una, not only recovering yung dating ideas ng relasyon ng tao sa kalikasan at tao sa tao, kundi in the current conjuncture na disrupt na ang global food chain, nagkakagulo na, bakbakan na kanya-kanya, and at the same time you have a president na at least kahit paano nagre-respond, kailangan ito. But then, you need not only people and programs and resources, you also need ideas na crystallize and can be argued. Kasi kung minsan sabi mo nga, tingin pag rural, luma na yan tayo IT. I think
pag may problema sila, tatakbo sa'yo.
Oo nga.
Ako nga one of the things that I experienced, I remember at least nung panahon ng pandemic at time, 2020, suddenly someone asked me to talk about, developments in agrarian reform in terms of actual productivity, etc. Sinabi ko sa kanila, you know what? I know the data from a couple of years ago. And then at least I remember in 2008, because of the release of the Agriculture and Development World Development Report, that there was another fresh look into agricultural development, smallholder agriculture, smart farming, ganon. But if you want to look at data, you go to the DAR. You get the data there and you look at the evidence, etc. But some things that are very important in thinking about this is to go back to the foundational issues in agricultural productivity. Yung Binswanger thesis on agricultural development, yung inverse relationship between productivity and simple lang yun simple na mga rules na tatanungin natin sa natin, do this still hold? Is there an inverse relationship between farm size and productivity?
Correct.
At kung ganun ba, pwede ba natin sabihin ay pirmi na natin na ang ating strategy talaga is smallholder agriculture rather than consolidation of land and big land holdings. Ganon. Secondly, di ba yung nagkakaproblema na rin sa Latin America kasi nga there was a time, di ba, yung nag-engage sila dun sa different type of agrarian reform. Hindi na naitulak even the peace agreement, di ba, between FARC and the Brazilian government. Yung work nila na agrarian reform, restitution lang. Tayo mas talagang redistribution of land. Sila, ang ibibigay lang nila, yung mga lupa na papatunayan ninyo na nasa inyo na kinuha ng mga plantasyon ay ibabalik sa inyo. That's the agreement in the Colombian peace process. Land restitution. It's not redistribution.
Sa atin,
So actually, dapat sumaya nga yung mga Pinoy, mas lamang pa tayo sa mismong FARC arrangement. Di ba kaya ang dali tapos yung nung sa negotiation pumayag na si Presidente Tadeo, sige, free distribution. Ang laki-laki ang laki-laking tagumpay noon. Tayo lang ata magkakaroon ng ganon. Ngayon, ang nangyari, kailangan nang ibalik yung kay Presidente. Boss, parang nakalimutan na ata ng Department of Agrarian Reform yung free distribution. Kasi napulingan naman yun na komunista lang raw ang nag-iisip ng free distribution. The radical solution became a communist solution. The practical solution became a communist solution. Parang ganun ang narrative na ngayon. So,
tama. Shift tayo sa last item yan
yes.
Dinagdag ko lang dito. Kasi nga, doon sa, wala ka doon, nung dinner kay Kadudong sa
wala.
Na-meet ko nga doon sina Gringo, tapos yung si anong pangalan niyan? Hindi, sino yung si James Layog. Sabi ay nasa DA pala siya on anti-smuggling. Sabi ko, ang problema sa gobyerno ngayon, hindi nyo naasikaso masyado yung rural dahil sa tingin nyo, wala namang insurgency na. Masyadong dati, other than the justice, the productivity issue, may element talaga dating asikasuhin natin dahil yan ang magiging base ng ng armed challenge sa gobyerno. Pag na-lesson yun, nakukonfuse nila, kinukulapse nila yung dalawa. Kaya we have to make the case again, other than the red tagging and the...
Yes, correct. Alam mo, kailangan nating asikasuhin yung mga lupain na naiwan na ng insurgency, yung mga lugar. Kasi now is the time to make on our promises that in the absence of an insurgency, government will save the economic development strategy and will put. What is happening is those areas are not being given any resources. Precisely because they were labeled and targeted and tagged as communist areas, they are last in the line of priorities. This entire receipt of money under LCAC and the ECLIP, is actually undertaken under active communist penetration, etc., as a way to win them out. But now that there is not there, it's no longer there. Yung ay makikita mo, wala nang pumasok na investment, which means that they are vulnerable to, again, being organized. Now, why are they vulnerable? Because I don't agree with the projections of government that they can end the insurgency. And I'll give you one central reason behind that, the new evidence that's happening. There have been recent attacks that have become bolder. Probably it's because of March 29, etc., or whatever. But Masbate is an important because they're not telling the story about Masbate is there were people who were killed in a recent ambush on an NPA. And we know that for a fact, but it's not in the newspapers. Secondly, the NPAs have increasingly entered the Bangsamoro region. For obvious reasons, the NPAs were driven there, okay, by the incessant attacks in Bukidnon, etc., in eastern Mindanao, Surigao, and Agusan. Now that they have relocated there, they have found new allies. Okay, we've seen coordination between them and at least MILF, etc., including Dawla Islamiyah. Not at a strategic level, I think, but at least at the ground being both combatants. And you know how in Muslim Mindanao, the hands of the army are tied. No, they cannot move, di ba? Kaya laging umaangal, di ba? How is it possible na 39 special forces naman namin madidisarmahan? Sampal sa mukha ng military yan, di ba? Ang daming general na galit doon sa nangyari yun. Silent ang hierarchy doon. Pumayag kayong disarmahan kayo ng MI, peace partner natin, no? Special forces pa. Tanong ko, bakit sila naligaw doon, di ba? Naligaw sila doon dahil naghahabol raw sila ng unit ng NPA. So ang tanong, what is the NPA doing in the perimeter of the 103rd base camp of the MILF? Secondly, atake yun ng FA-50, di ba, fighters several months ago. Sabi nila, hinahabol nila ay Dawla Islamiyah. So now, what if then finally inambush si Adyong? Sabi nila, yung pag-ambush kay Adyong related do sa 10,000 tree plantation ng marijuana na tinira nila in the same area, Maging Wao, that part of Lanao.
Grabe pala.
Number one question, what is a 10,000 tree plantation doing inside a camp of the MILF? Number two, what is the NPA doing being chased by the military within the perimeter of the 103rd? Number three, what is Dawla Islamiyah doing within that area of 103rd base command? Now, obviously the answer is, I think the insurgents have found a way out of this constriction campaign that they have been placed in, at least in the case of Mindanao, by transferring to the that area. So because of that, I think it is important to consolidate and support those areas which have been vacated, or else the insurgents will return to those areas and organize again, etc. And this is, just to be able to avoid that the lives and the development in those areas, or the lack of development, is prolonged further, if there is going to be a return to that. But that's the situation right now. So if I were, for example, I just told the Norwegians in a recent discussion at the embassy na the best thing to do is, if you're willing to support those communities from the north, Isabela, you know what? Aboitiz is restarting, the Chico River Dam. Sabi ko sa Aboitiz, you should know the history of that. The Chico River Dam was central to the growth of the CPP, and it was the central issue that gave rise to people like Balweg, the bishop, Jokno, etc. So you better be careful. You're reopening. So that's the situation. Those are areas that need real support at the moment. So that's an important thing. And of course, but to people like Gringo and Layug, the real question is, aren't you prepared to continue the move towards a political settlement? We have come so close to a political settlement. The sad thing about it is Joe had to die, Fidel had to die, before that settlement was actually
Sana nga
agreed.
yun eh. Oo.
Ganon, no? So at the last moment, suddenly a shift.
Mm.
When you need that settlement now, especially because of the dark clouds hovering over Taiwan,
Yeah.
Yes.
and China, and if that explodes and you do not have an unified armed front in the
Correct.
Philippines, it's going to be very difficult.
Grabe.
So that's the short and long of it, Ed, in terms of the status of the insurgency, no, that I can at least share.
Oo.
They have been, ELCAC has been effective in some areas in driving them out, no?
Yeah. Oo.
At the cost to human rights, really, no?
Correct. Correct.
The cost to human rights has been tremendous as well, etc. But the idea or the dream that they will disappear by the first quarter of 2023 is, a fallacy.
Correct.
It won't happen.
Grabe talaga, no? Pero at ako,
Sana po
nung,
talaga ating food security.
nung panahon ba ng nung panahon ba ni Clarita, Carlos,
Mm.
were you ever
Yeah.
consulted?
Yeah, I was there, di ba? The problem with Clarita was never really given a
Yeah.
chance to succeed. Kasi from the get-go, she kept being attacked by
Yeah.
SMNI on a daily basis. And then the president defended her, and she had bold, sabi niya sa akin, no, alam mo, Pancho, tayo mga academics, we don't want labeling people, di ba? Kasi if you label people, wala ka na, talo ka na sa argumento. Kaya that's why you label people. Kaya sinabi ko sa kanila, I will not red tag. Okay. But at the end, they forced her
Yeah.
to the point that, I think, even her announcement, the target, no, she was made to be the mouthpiece for announcing the targets of finishing the insurgency.
Yeah.
No, so she was really put in a very difficult situation. And at the end of it, I think it was not good for the president to have relieved her.
Yeah.
Una, I know also because of health reasons, no, General Anyo is not really that healthy.
Yeah, because na
Diba?
operasyon.
No, to handle now the NSC post is going to be very difficult. But yes, she was very receptive, but that is now, what's this? Water under the bridge na eh. She's now in Congress. Nawala na yung papel ko. Kasi I was one of the advisors but I was able to write a couple of policy advisories that about the insurgency, how to deal with it, but no action was taken on any of those. No, I don't even know if they reached the president.
Pero maliban sa gobyerno, Pancho, are there any other either university-based or independent think tanks like International Alert that exist and who are addressing this interrelated trinity nga ng lupa, pagkain, peace?
No, there's none. Even within, for example, Alert is part of a group that looks at conflict issues.
Yeah.
But the sad thing about it is, as you said, the links between those issues and food security and agriculture and development have pretty much been lost.
Mhm.
People have all been sold the idea that giving the MILF and the BARM all they need, is the focus of all our efforts.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous position because you cannot corral, you cannot focus your efforts only on this region, no
Correct.
matter how valid the developmental claims are, because the problem is not only in this region, it's a national problem right now, especially when it comes to food security, etc. And while the impact will not be to intensify the insurgency, the impact will be to intensify the shadow economies of the entire country. And if you go into that, that means intensifying drugs, weapons, etc., kidnap for ransom, gambling, etc.
Gambling, illegal gambling ngayon ang isang malaki.
Correct. Yung mga isabong, nakakapatay nga sila ng mga tao na pinapa-disappear na lang eh. So that's the situation at the moment. That's really a gap, Ed. Yan sinabi mo yan. That's really a gap. I know people who talk about what will we do regarding the camps that are being developed. What will we do regarding Marawi, the construction? What will we do regarding Sulu? But no one is talking about, as you said, the nexus between problems faced in the agricultural sector, food security, and conflict.
Yeah.
Kasi ang tingin nila, ang conflict ay doon lang sa Mindanao.
Oh, doon lang.
Or kaya armed rebellion, insurgency. Maraming incidents ng conflict that go beyond that.
Saka actually yung twice mo nang binanggit, hindi rin nagiging kasama sa diskurso ang shadow economy. Ano?
Hindi rin.
Hindi rin,
Liban sa Mindanao. Except for Mindanao. Correct.
Bigla
Kaya,
akong mag-isip kasi we're winding up. Nagsimula tayo kay Ka Jimmy, baka we will end up with Boy Morales kasi iniisip ko. Hindi kasi sa PRRM, nag-iisip kami. Sabi ko, si Gani kasi si Lisa has taken the initiative to remembering is Gani Serrano. So may mga forum. Kako si Boy, I think I read one time you said you wrote something sa Facebook during the pandemic na si Boy is the convener of of ideas, no?
Yeah, remembering group natin.
Oo. Kaya iniisip ko maybe we were even thinking because 11th year na yan. Last year was 10th year. We couldn't pull it. But I was thinking sa September, anniversary ng kanyang birthday, death niya, pero birthday niya, we should put together a kind of forum that puts together intersection ito. But we have
you know what I want to do? Remember this group that we used to convene during Boy time? Who did that group include? Diba? Ben Jokno.
Ben Jokno, totoo.
As budget. Philip Medalla.
Oh, correct.
As DEDA. He's now Bangko Sentral. Ben Jokno is now finance. Laguesma for labor.
Oo nga pala,
diba? Patay na si Kwasi Romualdez for health. Pero kasama rin siya doon. And that met regularly. You were there. You sat during those meetings. Tapos sino pa? And those people are there. And I think they will respond. Pwedeng open air. This is for Boy Morales. Kasi they all respected Boy, di ba?
Yun nga inisip namin. He can continue convening.
From the grave.
And then what we can use kasi kung PRR lang, it's NGO lang. If I can swing now, DAP can be co-convener. Tignan natin.
Yes. Okay yun. Great. Okay.
Marami na pag-usapan.
Summarize.
Thank you.
Bihira itong Senior City Kwentuhan. Nabibigatan ba kayo nakikinig sa amin? Parang sino nakikinig.
Sina Chato, sina Met, sina Yen. Basta
kung sino nakikinig. Pero mabuti na lang at
Bye-bye. Nasa radyo lang ako. Okay, bye-bye.
Sige. 3 minutes ago na lang naman tayo Sige, I think ang linaw naman na nagsimula tayo sa usapin ni Ka Jimmy at saka maganda yung framework na binigay ni Pancho na marami namang nangyari pero including his comment na maganda sana yung bibingka pero it didn't really work as such at kailangan hindi lamang yung apoy mula sa ilalim na kahit yun may problema because yung orientation ngayon ng mga aktivista hindi naman kung mag-i-engage o babanat Pero more important, yung Estado na siyang may kapangyarihan at may responsibilidad ay actually yun ang ni-raise ko rin noon kina Tony Calao nung siya presidente ng DAP. Ako yung developmental state, ang isang premise niyan. Kasi there was a time raw sa Asian Productivity Organization, nagdi-divide sila ng assignment. Gusto nilang ilagay sa Pilipinas yung public productivity. Sabi niya, yung public productivity, kako yung usapin ng palakasin mo yung the public sector. Ewan ko kung ganun pa rin ang mandate doon.
Dapat ganun yun. Kung ganun nga talaga, dapat ganun yung framework mo, the public sector.
Kasi
that means government productivity.
They do all this masters on public management, ganun. Pero ang maganda dyan, itong yung current presidente, si Karunan, when I'm talking to him, before he did his final thesis, ang first preferred thesis niya was on rural development.
Yes, so si Victor Karunan?
Oo, hindi si Victor. Itong si Jojo Karunan. Yung current presidente ng nag-MNSA siya, sabi niya, ang original thesis niya was on rural development and land reform. Tapos pinalipat siya sa something lesser. Kaya I'm thinking, kung bukas siya, at least for the convening part, pero tama ka, we'll do it under the aegis ni Boy. Morales. Kaya, pero before that, ayusin natin yung second round, sabi mo nga ng kasaysayan at pagbalik sa usapin ng buhay at pakikibaka ni Ka Jimmy at ng rural development sector. No? Mukhang marami-rami pa naman tayo kahit maraming namamatay na.
Correct. Marami pa tayo. Okay.
So, dito na lang po at maraming salamat sa ating nagdadrive pa, no?
Hindi, nakaparada ako.
Sige.
Okay,
Maraming
bye-bye.
salamat kay Pancho Lara. Maraming salamat sa alaala ni Ka Jimmy Tadeo at abangan po, may break tayo ng Holy Saturday pero siguro babalik tayo April 15 at tingnan natin baka mag-follow up to tayo sa topic na ito na talagang matindi at hindi lamang din sa malaking usapin niya. Naku, usapin na naman ng presyo ng mga bilihin at pagkain at supply. Balik na naman. Naku.
Tama.
Sige,
Okay.
salamat Pancho.
Bye-bye.
Any last words you want to leave to us?
Gusto ko lang batiin ang lahat at salamat sa inyong dalawa sa pagpapatuloy ng ganitong klase ng mga usapan. Alam mo, takam na takam kami talaga. Sa totoo lang, walang ganitong klase ng mga usapan na mas maganda pa later on gawin natin face to face. Pero pino-cover ng radio.
Oo, gawin natin.
Ito si Tayo. Ayan.
Ay, tay, salamat.
Happy birthday sa tatay.
100 years, wow.
Tapos ng program.
Meron na siyang ano ba yun?
100,000.
100,000. Pero kailangan 101 bago mag 1 million.
Oo, tama.
Next year, 1
Okay.
million na.
Okay. So,
Bye-bye.
maraming salamat po. Dito po papaalam ang Senior City Kwentuhan. Salamat muli sa ating co-sponsors, INET Philippines, Adult Learning and Education Program, Senior sa panahon ng COVID at Lapis Siso Channel at ating balik techie, si Cass. Maraming salamat, Cass. Ito po ay naka-record and you can watch it again sa YouTube channel. Maraming salamat. Bye-bye.